pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bodley.
Here.
Chapman.
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Cruzy.
Here.
Absent Batterby and Clark.
We'll take a motion for approval of the agenda, March 28th as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Support. Motion by Chapman, support by Bodley. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion approved. Any public comment? This time I'll kind of turn it over to Brian. He's got
Be happy to give a little introduction presentation on the application and the plan we're talking about, and see if anybody else has anything more comment, and
great.
go from there.
Thank you.
I brought a board, so I don't know if there's a spot you normally might.
I'll hold it.
Maybe a prop it on a chair or something.
Yeah. That'll do it.
Everybody kind of see it, or? Yeah. This is kind of a blow up of the site plan that we'll have in the application package. Those are 8.5 by 11 sheets and stuff, but you know, design plans are more this size. But basically, what we're looking at is a DNR Natural Resources Trust Fund grant for doing some improvements down at Thurston Park. Pretty much the proposal would be centered on a new bathhouse structure, which would have the advantage of additional shower capacity as well as fully ADA accessible facilities there. That was one of the main issues with, although the current bathhouse is in real good shape for when it was built and such. We looked at the dimensioning and stuff of it, and there's just really too many ADA dimensional issues inside of it. So rather than looking at retrofitting that structure, we think it's in great shape. We just build something adjacent that would fully meet the current ADA accessibility requirements, as well as you know, provide much greater capacity for campers and day users and such out there. The remainder of the proposal has to do, for the most part, with adding boat dock and boat slip capacity, both in the Thurston Park area as well as some slips over on the other side of the bridge along State Street. All of those, the boardwalk and the docks, would also be ADA accessible. That's kind of fully required by the grant at a minimum. But I think one of the things that we're kind of putting together in a narrative is, I think there's some real benefits to some of the proposal in terms of beyond ADA accessibility, more universal design. Where I think we're providing additional pathways and such, which are going to improve people's ability to get down to the waterfront, and you know, not only get into boats, but also some of the boardwalk that runs to the north is just more of a area for folks to maybe pier fish or just be able to get closer to the water, you know, and not be in the vicinity of the boats and such. Another thing, I went down and I was able to take some pictures for it. I gotta get some digital photos that'll go along with the application, but now that we lost a little bit of snow, I was able to get a better look at a couple of things. I think this boardwalk over on the other side of State Street's in real nice shape, and I think that'll work real well for flotation docks, you know, putting, you know, gangways down to them and such. One improvement that I might work into the narrative, I think our budget would be able to cover it, is and it's something we can talk about more further, but possibly adding a protective edge along the front of it that, you know, keeps, say, it's more of an accessibility issue, keeping people, you know, say in a wheelchair from falling off the front of it. Basically, it's much more than putting a 2x4, you know, with a lip basically in the front. So I mean, it's a thought. It's something that I can write into the narrative as far as scoring as points for the universal design criteria. So that's something to look at. Other than that, I mean, we've kind of looked at some of the grading coming down from the one existing pavilion. These layouts may change a little bit, you know, if you get the grant and go to final design, but I think, you know, we'll be able to work some grading out there to make our slopes work pretty good. I've dealt with trickier things approaching Torch Lake and stuff, you know, down to Forest Home and stuff, and I think we'll be able to make this work pretty well. The other variable that we'll kind of have is we'll be able to set, you know, this boardwalk at a height that is, you know, workable with the slopes coming down on these walkways, similar to the situation you got over on the other side. I think that works actually quite well over there, so. Basically, you know, for the most part, the big ticket items are obviously the boardwalk, the docks, and then the foundation improvements. And we're looking at using helical piles, which are pretty low impact. The DEQ typically doesn't have much issue with, you know, screwing those in. It's not nearly as invasive as grading into the, you know, or dredging or things like that to be able to create a walkway. So we've used these screw piles in a couple different locations, and it's worked pretty well. But you know, that'll certainly be a you know, kind of a big ticket item as part of the budget. But overall, you know, I've given you guys estimates, and then the application has a breakdown, and we're looking at a total project cost of $250,000 with a 35% match by the village, and we worked in about $31,500, which would be considered force account work, you know, grading, demolition, restoration, things like that. So that's kind of how we're writing it up, and I think it's gonna be a great proposal. It's a great little park. We actually have a couple people. I hadn't really utilized that park before, but I know a couple people who camp there on a regular basis that work at our office and say it's a great little spot. And I think it's gonna, you know, certainly it's a good effort to improve access to Intermediate Lake, and I think it's really it goes along real well with your recreational plan as a whole, and you know, I think we'll do okay with it. So, open it up to any questions you might have.
Are the two pathways at the north staying? I know one time it was going to far to the dock, and then
Here?
Yeah, now it's in the center, yeah.
Yep, we have enough quantity in the estimate to do it kind of this way, and I kind of like the way it looks. Like I said, this is preliminary. When we do final grading after there's actually survey data, because like I said, we'll have to fine grade it to make the ADA slopes work, but I kind of like, you know, that having an approach to the north end of the boardwalk, you know. And I think this is a great little, like I say, observation area right there for anybody that wants to approach the lake.
What are the boardwalks and the docks constructed of?
You know, it could be, I'm thinking it might be the composite material, because the budgets that we have, the square footage, I think would support using the composite, I don't know, Trex, that type of thing, you might have seen for decks and things like that, really low maintenance. You know, or, you know, you could go with a material, I think it's, I don't know if it's womanized or, you know, whatever's over on the other side there, that's more of a standard wood over there, but, you know, I'm thinking it might be a good way to go with the composite material.
Would be nice.
And you can pick your color and stuff, you know. You know what, maybe I'll just take these off here. I'll talk a little bit about the bathhouse proposal.
What were the dimensions on that bathhouse?
We're about
24,
27 by 20.
27 by 20?
Yeah, roughly. Again, these are, you know, to be designed fully, but the main idea is we wanted to, we're kind of sneaking it in behind the existing one, which I think works pretty well because you got utilities and stuff kind of set up there for the existing bathhouse, so the extensions won't be too far. It's a little tight back in there. We'll probably have to move that fish cleaning station and stuff, but we'd be looking at having a mechanical room kind of in the middle, and then 4 pods along the side, each one having a shower, a bench, you know, toilet and a sink, where you're gonna have the dimensions will be consistent with the movements, the circular movements for ADA. We'll just make all of them ADA accessible, you know, maybe 2 of them men's and 2 of them women's, you know. But I think it's a pretty, we use something similar to this for a project up in Sheboygan. It worked pretty well, but Like I said, I think for the budget, this would work, and if we get the grant, we can look at, tweaking the design or other alternatives as well, but I think this size will work pretty well in that spot.
In our original conversation, we talked about incorporating the fish cleaning station into either the new bathhouse or the old one. Is that part of the project still, or have we just kind of overlooked a little bit of that right now?
You mean like the existing fish cleaning station, or?
Doing something to actually keep one there instead.
Oh, yeah, I think we would just move it,
Oh, okay.
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 Right now, it's kind of right behind the existing bathhouse. I think we'll just find a better spot for it. And I think that's something that's coverable under the site grading
Okay.
type work, I think it'd be, really, kind of some of the force account work could be doing something with that fish cleaning
Would it be
station.
feasible to plan it into that mechanical room to do something? To where we would lose, actually, so we wouldn't have the third building there? And it would just stay as part of that, and just something to
Something to think about, I suppose. The other thing is, I'm gonna write into the narrative, we're gonna have sidewalks around these, and I'm gonna put an outside, shower, spigot and things like that, and a drinking fountain and stuff like that will be part of it, so those are just nice amenities, And like I said, we'll kind of wrap the sidewalks around the whole thing, where it'll be a good place for people to get the sand off and stuff like that, But yeah, I'm thinking we'll take a look and see, the fish station right now is about there, and we'll take it's already built, so I think it's more of just a matter of moving it and grading a spot for it, and I think it'll be pretty straightforward thing to figure out.
Any questions?
No.
May I?
Yes.
Well, why don't you go ahead?
Well, I was wondering, are you doing anything with the existing pavilion and bathrooms?
No, we're not doing anything with the existing bathrooms, mainly because the old bathrooms, although they're in great shape and they're very usable, they're not, the interior, the dimensions of the structure don't comply with ADA. It's obsolescence type of an issue. You can still utilize that building, but if you did anything to try to modify it, you'd have to bring the entire thing back up to ADA.
Okay,
So you're better off just,
so is the new one's gonna be open to the public?
Yeah.
Not just the campers?
I'll let the board or council have to speak to that. But
Meaning, if they're the only handicap accessible ones, wouldn't they have to be open to the public?
Well, they're right, the whole proposal is as a public.
Well, in the past, it's always been just for campers, hasn't it?
They'll probably be just for campers, because they have shower facilities.
Okay.
So the public won't have any ADA restrooms to go to then?
They'll have the same ones they had at the pavilion.
Which don't meet the ADA, the standards, right? Isn't that what you said at the beginning?
I was
They haven't
referring
done
to-
any
Yeah,
work
he's
on the
referring
Paul
to the-
Pat
I'm referring
Pavilion.
to
Yeah, he's referring to
bathhouse.
the pavilion further up in the park.
And you're talking about the Paul Pappy Pavilion up in the Thurston Park campground. We're talking about the bathhouses in the campground themselves.
I understand that. But the campground the bathroom at the pavilion don't meet ADA standards, correct?
I can't speak to that. We didn't look, that wasn't part of the scope of what we were doing here.
It's not even part of the project.
Well, this is upgrade of Thurston Park, right?
This is an upgrade of the Thurston Park campgrounds. And boat docks, boat
Correct.
slips.
My turn? I have several questions. How much of a percentage of the project in terms of cost is the bathhouse?
The bathhouse, we have budgeted at 63,000, so I'd say about a quarter of the overall budget.
Okay, so the majority of it is in shoreline improvements and,
No, it's divided, there's shoreline improvements, there's grading, demolition, site restoration, and then there's engineering involved and project management.
in that vein, have you made any plans there for stormwater runoff?
We are gonna, all the work that's gonna be done is gonna be, there'll be restoration, so you won't, they'll have to be put back. We're gonna have an erosion control permit.
I just know that if you have something written into it in the way of stormwater runoff or just some, even if it's small, like a rain garden, that
Well,
that's something they tend to.
yeah, I mean,
look
we're
on
not
very
we're not
favorably.
really adding much in the way of, say, a parking lot or hard surface where we're not generating, I wouldn't say more
Well,
runoff.
with the downhill gradient though off the road is what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, you know, like I said, that's kinda not really within the scope of this project.
And the other question I have would probably be more for the village, but I know that Banks Township recently applied, well, they were going to put in for a number of, for a grant for Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund for their Grand Traverse Bay Park up there. And what do they call that little park? It's beautiful. And they postponed doing that because they were unable to establish ownership of the park. And I'm wondering if the lease, is that gonna be any kind of an issue?
We're not even touching the part of the park that's under lease. The
Oh,
only part that's
okay.
under lease is way up in the corner up by the bridge.
Okay, so that's
Little
just a
corner,
small part
way
of the
up there.
park?
Yep.
Okay, all right, great, that's all I wanted to know.
Thank you, Lynn.
Any other public comment? Move on. Does anybody have a copy of the resolution? If not, I'll just. Any questions on the actual resolution? Okay, accept a motion to approve the resolution. Motion by Chapman, support by Bodnar. Roll call, please.
Baldwin,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Bayer,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yep.
Cruiser.
Yep. Motion passes. Any other questions? Yes.
You have that resolution, I assume you just passed is for going for the grant, right?
Yes.
Do you have long-term estimates on, or the plans, how you're gonna come up with the matching portion of the grant?
Yes, 31,500 will be work done by the DPW. 56,000 will come out of the general fund. Out of the fund balance,
56,000 out of the town, or out of the village?
out of the village fund balance.
And the others coming from where?
DPW work.
Oh, so
They
you're,
will do part of the work down.
your employee, you're doing some of your own work through
Yeah,
your
they'll do the
employees?
grading, the demolition, the restoration, it comes up to about $31,500 worth of work.
Thank you.
So, we picked that number just so you know what, because on the auditor's advice and our accountants, they were very comfortable with that number. So that's where we started with, was how much we could afford.
You mean the share, the
Uh,
58,000 or whatever you
Yes,
just said?
56,
Okay.
yes, that's where it all came about, and then the 35% match was recommended. So, we started that and we worked forward, and that's the project we came up with.
Sounds like a good idea to me, but
I think it'd be a huge improvement to Thurston Park, and I think a lot of people appreciate it, and the scope of future projects building off of this one is good for us too.
some more spaces up on top maybe, in the long run, if it becomes that much more popular.
I think it's endless really when you start looking at what you could do with what you've got and what you're building there. I mean, we've discussed things as far as putting gazebos on the boardwalk is something to do. There's just so much you can do. I know that the Michigan Waterways, I think it is, Grand Traverse is approached some of us about kayak and waterway stuff, so it has an opportunity to build that into it eventually. So there's just a lot of opportunity with it.
Any questions?
I'd be happy to leave that board there if you'd like to use it, or people wanna look at it or whatever.
That'd be great.
Alright.
That'd be real,
Yeah.
that'd be real.
I do have one more quick
Yes.
question. This was
Yes.
chatter on Facebook today. The village is not planning on charging for launching your boat as a result of this, correct?
I have no idea what goes on
This was on
It's
Facebook
never been-
today.
It's never been discussed at the village, so it's,
I did see a
People are
question
concerned
there.
that you will begin charging them to launch boats.
How much are we charging?
no, don't even.
That didn't, that was not right.
Curious,
If they're concerned, they should come to the meeting the second Monday of the month and not.
Well, I
on Facebook.
suggested they come to the hearing tonight.
Well,
And-
it wouldn't have been discussed
No.
because it's never been discussed by the village council or anybody on the village council.
That's what I told them, that I hadn't heard anything at all to that effect, and that they should
No,
come to tonight's
we-
hearing and ask.
We don't respond to.
And I seen that, Linda, from a very respected individual.
Yeah,
I didn't wanna respond to it, but yes, it's. And it's somebody
what
that's
it
very
is.
involved in all this in the village, so yeah.
yeah,
That's a.
So the answer is, it's never even been discussed.
right. Pretty much what I told them.
Thank you.
Well, when you send them in,
I'll
it's
take a
gonna
motion
actually
to
get
adjourn.
I'll need a
I'll
copy
second
of that executed.
Did you see
signed
it, Dave?
resolution too.
I second it.
Okay, motion by
Tyler.
Tyler, support by Pierre, all in favor? Aye, meeting adjourned.
Who was the motion?
Motion by Tyler.
Seconded by?